We all deal with stress on the day-to-day. So because of that, MH10, we wanted to write an ebook that would help reinforce positivity in everybody's lives. So on January 1st, 2023, we will be releasing our first ebook on 5 simple ways to reinforce positivity in your everyday life without a therapist. Because we noticed that most of us don't go to therapy because either we can't afford it or we're not comfortable with it. So in this book, we explain things that you can add to your routines, add to your habits that will help you every day with your stress and even prevent it from happening in the first place. It's a lot of habits that we can ingest in our lives that will help our mental health. So if you want to join the wait list for the book to be the first to receive it, go to our Instagram at mh10.2022 and join the wait list. You are now tuned in to We Invest Different Podcast, where we have high-level conversations. I'm Mr. John Michael Best.
And I'm Victor Thomas II.
Let's tap in. On conversation number 45, we talked about how great our people are and the things that we can do to recognize our greatness so we can have better melanated businesses in our communities and what we can do to level up as people. Tap in. Thank you for tuning in to another conversation of We Invest Different Podcast. I'm co-host Mr. John Michael Best.
And I'm your other co-host, Victor Thomas II.
And it's so good to be back, man, on this great Friday morning. 7 a.m., 7:02 a.m.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, man, I was just in the spirit of gratitude, you know, in here fixing some coffee, you know, because part of my daily routine is to write down as many things I'm grateful for as I can in the morning.
Yeah, right.
Those things add up every morning, so you run out of stuff. So every morning gets more challenging for you to find something to be grateful for. So it stretches your mind to be thankful even more. So I was like, man, I'm sitting here, I'm thankful for condiments. I'm thankful for plates, bowls, cups, spoons, forks, you know, small things like that, small things that we overlook. But if we didn't have those things, you know, we would literally be looking like, dang, what I'm gonna eat with.
Real talk. Take you for granted real quick. That's beautiful, man, that you doing that, man. Beautiful.
So,
and I can tell you getting deep off into it because, like you said, you having to stretch. For real. I remember at one point I was like, thank God for my toenails.
Man, yeah, I remember you saying that.
For real.
And it was like, it sounds funny, but I actually wrote that down the other day because what would we do without our toenails, bro?
I can't even imagine what that would be like, bro.
Extremely uncomfortable. Like, not to have no toenails. When you put socks on, it's gonna be rubbing the skin under your toenail.
Right.
But how has life been for you? I'm saying mentally, and naturally.
Oh man, it's been good, man. Just really been working on being in control of my mind. And man, just doing a lot of studying of the word, but also, you know, taking a look at a few other things too. Not to say that I'm veering off from my brand of God, you know what I mean? But a cousin of ours, Jeremy, he introduced me to Taoism. I think I'm saying it right, but it's spelled with a T, but it sounds like they pronounce it Taoism. One thing that I picked up from there, which also lines up with the word in a sense, is to be in the flow. So I've been working on being in the flow, and that really consists of, you know, not putting so much pressure on myself and trying to make things the way I want them. And also not having the perspective when I look at situations, not to look at it the way that I want it to be, but more so receive it in the way that it is. And it's a lot less stressful taking that approach of just being in the flow of things, For real.
Amen.
So that's what I've been on lately, man. How about you?
I just want to really say how profound that principle is, and like you said, it is a connection with the word, because in the scripture, living by faith it is being in the flow. So I just think that it's just another interpretation.
Word.
Because it's really aligned. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. Sure. Because I think I kind of related to that scripture about dang, it just left me.
And
trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not onto your own understanding.
Are you serious, bro?
What?
That's what you've been on?
What you mean?
I'm saying, like, that's amazing, because literally, bro, that's been the word, like, at church.
Dang, that's crazy. And how about I looked at a sermon the other day that was talking about that too?
Wow, bro. Yeah.
It's alignment, bro. And I think with being in the flow, that alignment happens. Like, I'm gonna give you an example, bro, some alignment that's crazy, bro. So my lady, she was a dancer at her high school, you feel me? And a twirl girl. So we ended up running into her band director the day before yesterday, right? Out of nowhere. And then how about the very next day, I run into mine.
Wow. Yeah, I see your picture.
Yeah, bro. So it's just like an alignment, bro, that just like that was, I still don't know what to receive from that. But what I see right now is that me being in the flow, things align a lot better, because I'm not trying to move in a way where I'm forcing it. I'm really, what the scriptures say, trusting in the Lord and not leaning on my understanding and trying to make things the way I want them to be. Just go with the flow.
Right, and going with his flow.
Yeah, man,
Like,
for sure.
Right.
For sure.
Right. So, man, that's very powerful. But what I've been on lately, bro, is really understanding DNA. Like, I've been really into that. And something that on our segment of what you learn, I'm gonna explain what I learned, but I'll give a little snippet right now. I found out, excuse me, that we have 14 generations of memories in our DNA.
Okay.
So that means, DNA is only just coded information, which is memory, which is why when we are born, we are a combination of our parents.
Word.
And we're able to gain personality traits and genetics from them. So that really proves that in our DNA is information already imprinted inside of you of where you come from. And so on and so forth. So you have your parents in you, and your parents have their parents in you, and their parents had their parents in them, and they've had their parents in them. Right?
Yep, makes sense.
So all of this stuff, it doesn't disappear. So it has been transferred and transformed through DNA over generation from generation. So we are still connected to those memories, right? We are still connected to those experiences. And that's why we have, epigenetics, what we talked about the week before last. That's the transferring of behavior from generation to generation. So I wanted to connect this to the topic that we said we was going to approach today, which is, the differences between white-owned businesses and melanated owned businesses. But the whole point, I was thinking about, like, what's the point of this conversation? Really, the point of this conversation is not just to compare, to say, oh, we just want to compare to see what we can do better, like, but we comparing it to white businesses. No, that's not the point. The point is to see where we can do better, not in comparison, but just to look at ourselves and see, hey, like, we know what type of businesses we like. We know what type of businesses we want to patronize. So we need to be those businesses. We need to start incorporating the same type of business practices that we enjoy ourselves. Like, we go out and support businesses. Do they have the great customer service like you be wanting melanated owned businesses to have?
Talking about white business.
Like us as melanated people, like, when we go out and support businesses, do we care about customer service? Do we care about this? Do we care about that? Because when we go into a melanated owned business, we are more critical. We're more critical of ourselves than we are when we walk into another, race of people own businesses.
I can see that. I'm not though. I'm on level ground with it all, bro. Like I ain't more critical of a black business because I know a lot of people some people are critical and like to chastise a black business, and they wouldn't do the same for a white-owned business or a melanated business. But me personally, I'm looking at it from the same scope, bro. Everywhere I go. But it is a thing. I'm pretty sure that melanated people do take that approach of being a little more critical, and I wonder why that is.
I mean, bro, because we have high expectations of our people, bro, and sometimes it can be a little too high because like we're not living by our expectation that we put on other people. Now, we always living on that same expectation, then we can expect that from one another. But it's like you go into a business and expect the best when you ain't even the best. Like, you go into a melanated business and you'll condemn them and judge them on how they running their business. Now, I know you can have your opinion or whatnot, but you ain't gotta like not support no more or whatever because one thing happened. I just feel like you just give like I've done this before. Like, you give way more leeway to companies that you think is valuable regardless of how they treat you. Yep. So I don't know, man.
I can see that being the thing. And I think, that probably come from like slavery or something. Like, how we'll be all, and like you said, like the generational thing, like we'll be all kind of like, yes, white man, the white man knows. I think that's really like some of that Uncle Tom that's peeking through
Programming
that a lot of people claim they don't have. You know what I mean? Even though it's not really the Uncle Tom thing, but that's a whole nother conversation. But for sake of conversation, we'll call it an Uncle Tom thing. And I really think that's what it is. Like, yeah, the white man might do this to me and they might serve me like this, but I'm going to deal with it because it's the white man. But the black man do the same thing. Oh, it's a problem.
Oh, it's up. I'm talking about it's up. You can bring in a whole war.
They're getting on social media, telling everybody don't support them. It's ugly, man.
Yeah, man. And that's bad. But going in depth into the conversation, we know how to run business, man. Because that was the whole point I brought up the DNA thing. Like, we have ran business before. We have ran communities before. We have stuck together before. So it's in our DNA. Community is in our DNA. It's just that, programming has gotten us away from it, but you can't get away from your DNA, but you can recreate your DNA. And that's what's happening, bro. Like, due to this programming, we are forgetting. Like, when you put new information inside of you, you are then reconstructing DNA for the future generation, right? So that memory is also going to be stored into your DNA. So when you die or when you have a child, all of that programming is getting put into your DNA, is getting transferred to your child as well. So over the years, not only do we have memories of, being community driven people, not only do we have good memories, but we also told the programming, like the programming as well, because when you're programmed for something, it don't like that thing that you're programmed to think, that doesn't mean it's real. Like you can be programmed to think something that's not even true, not even real. So like some of us are programmed for this slavery thing, and it didn't even happen the way most of us think it happened. So that's what I'm saying. It's also programming. Sometimes it ain't even the experiences that we had. It can be just the programming going into our memory. Like, cause whatever you are programmed to think is going to influence how you feel, and how you feel is going to really determine whether you're going to remember it or not. That's how you remember it, how it made you feel.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Like it was the truth or not.
exactly, it don't even matter. So all of this, it has to be taken into consideration. So like, regardless of what's there, like we have been a community driven people before. So regardless of where we are now, as far as melanated businesses in this country, we can thrive as entrepreneurs.
There is something like I know that we can. I get that. But what is that thing that's in between that's preventing us from doing it at a higher level than we at now? Cause I mean, I'm gonna be frank, Black businesses do be having problems, man. And I know one of them is that timeliness. Like CP time is a real thing, man. CP time is a real, colored people time is a real thing, bro.
You're right, bro.
So issues like that, like where did that come from? How does that get resolved? You know what I'm saying? Because I'm pretty sure it wasn't a problem before. Because like you said, we have the abilities to do it, but something happened in between. Like
Man,
what
I
is
mean,
that?
I feel like culturally, that's always been there, bro. Being on time, being late. I just think, I mean, well, a lot of us didn't go by that, but it wasn't time per se, but they did meet at certain times, or I understand the order of, you know, be here at this time, be here at dawn, be here at noon. Like I'm pretty sure they had parameters of time to be dedicated to, so they can stay in order. I
Right.
understand that. But I just feel like even back then, niggas still ran late, bro. Like sometimes. I think that's a problem that we've always faced. But as far as fixing that problem, I think it's gonna always take consistency, bro. Like consistency still is still gonna, individually we have to execute,
Word.
and like personal development should be a big thing in all of our lives, and that's what we really have to instill, personal development. Because like when you instill personal development, you become a goal growth oriented person.
Mm-hmm. And you know what that just made me think of?
Well,
What you were talking about week before last. Or not week before last. I think I was putting together some media clips and I ran across the conversation again, making some of them clips I've been putting on IG and stuff.
uh-huh.
But I remember one of them you was talking about people putting the goal before being a better person.
Yes.
And I think that might be what a lot of Black people are doing, or melanated people are doing. It's like we're put in a situation now where it's like we need to come up because we losing. I know that's the perspective for a lot of people's situation. So it's like, let me chase this business. Let me get this business rolling so I can help grandma with this, so I can help my kids with this. My auntie need this, you know what I mean? Mama need this. Let me chase this business. Because I can see that if I chase this business, I get the money to help solve some of these problems. So it's almost like as a collective, and I ain't saying everybody, but I'm speaking in general terms that maybe it's a lot of people skipping that self-development that you just mentioned.
Yes, man.
You know what I mean? Because when I look at white people, business white people, and black people too, but it just seems like I hear more white people saying things like, I'm getting up and I'm working out today. Like I'm doing these things. I'm going to therapy today. You know what I'm saying? They're doing things to make themselves better and not just strictly pursuing the business. Like they have hobbies. Like I remember one time I went to a shoot and a real estate photography shoot with my lady. And these folks had a nice property. I ain't even saying a house. They had a property that had like 3 houses on it, bro. And this lady was a whole architect. You feel me?
Uh-huh.
And she had a whole house dedicated to a hobby, bro. Like she when and during our conversations, she didn't even mention that she was an architect. Her focus was her hobby. And that's what she talked about. And it's stuff, and I think it's stuff like that that also helps us, to be more sound in the mind. Not just thinking business, business, business. We gotta do some things to take ourselves away. But melanated people, which I believe we have picked up this slave mentality, we take the approach of work, 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 work. You gotta work. If you ain't working, you lazy. If you ain't working, you know what I'm saying? That's how we live, bro.
Yeah, you're right, bro.
But we don't take the time to fuck with ourselves, man. And I think that's a major key too, bro.
I mean, I think the one big reason for that though, bro, is because we have made so many bad decisions in the past before we become awakened,
Mm.
before we become enlightened, and unfortunately, like you still got to pay for your bad choices and bad decisions. Now,
Bro.
like in the future, yeah, you may have a better future, but you still have to, hey, you still got to face those choices and decisions that you made in the past. So I feel like the goal is the earlier the better, man. Like personal development need to be early as possible, the earliest as possible, before you go out into the world and make all these bad decisions. And when you want to start a business, you can't really do it the way you need to do it because you got 3 kids already.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't really work on your hobby. You can't really harness your gift and your talent because you are facing the trial of bills. Like you're facing the things, like you're facing everything that you're dealing with or whatever. So I think that's one of the reasons why people aren't spending more time harnessing those things, bro, that they can possibly make a living off of. But I
Right.
think, but going back to the original point of like,
Hold on to that original point, but let me piggyback off what you just said.
what's up?
Remember because I know you forget sometimes. Remember it right now. Like put it in your head. You got it.
Um, hey, Jay, go, bro. I'll come back to it.
All right, that's a bit. But like you said, some melanated people face the situation where they have they have these responsibilities they gotta attend to. And I get it. But I think that's where that faith gotta kick in.
Thank you. That's where I was going.
Okay. Because I know
See,
like
that's it.
that's and it also made me think about that flow that I was talking
Yeah,
about at first. Like that
yeah,
flow that we gotta have. Being in the flow, letting things come together. But see, even before that, we gotta make sure what we have in mind that we pursuing is aligned with our purpose, first of all.
mm,
Because that crab in the bucket mentality is a real thing and it can impact us in multiple ways. It's not just in the form of, oh, I'm gonna hate on this person because they coming up. That crab in the bucket mentality could also be, oh, I see this person doing this, so I'm gonna try to do it too.
yeah,
They got success doing that. Why I can't have it? I can do that too, but that might not even be nothing that you supposed to be messing with. And now you trying and trying and trying and trying and trying, neglecting the self-care. you know what I mean, neglecting relationship because you trying to pursue this thing that probably wasn't even necessarily for you to pursue in the first place.
Man, that's a good point, because I really personally believe that divine purpose, bro, is pure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, divine purpose don't have you degrading somebody else for you to come up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And when we get out, and when we get in our divine purpose, that's when the flow happens.
Right.
As long as we trying to do something that's not in our divine purpose, it ain't gonna be no flow. We gonna have to struggle and fight, struggle and fight, struggle and fight. Who told us we had to struggle and fight for anything, bro? Who told us that?
Programming, man, jobs.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And but we live by that creed. Black folks, we gotta struggle and we gotta fight to get what? Where? Who
Just
said?
because we can don't mean we're supposed to. Like, yeah, we can take a lot. Like, yeah, we the strongest people on the planet. But that don't mean, excuse me, that don't mean take on. Like, I think from a physical standpoint, we understand who we are. But as a spiritual standpoint, we don't understand who we are. We know all about the physical strength, but we don't know nothing about the spiritual strength, and that's the part we need to understand.
Talk.
That unlock all of the doors. Like I was saying on like the mental health live that I do every Wednesday, MH10. I was saying that the closer you get to God, the less problems you have in the physical.
Makes sense.
Because it's like that. Like, okay, now of course you got obstacles in life, and you know, like everybody have to have a cross, like, and everybody have things that they have to bear in life. Like, that's just life. But I think, like, in your perspective, like your mindset, like if you are elevated in your mind and your frequency is on God level, like you're spiritual minded and you really have been denying the flesh and the negativity that come with it, like your consciousness is high. So when your consciousness is high, you have tapped into the source of everything. So you then feel one with God. See, that's how you become one with God. And so I was finna ask you the question. How do you think a person tap in to their divine purpose?
And be uncomfortable. Sit down somewhere. Whatever that thing they feel like they need to pursue, let it go. Cause a lot of times God can't get into our mind and our spirit because we got it filled up with other stuff we trying to pursue, man. And that's from experience, bro.
Ooh, man. Yeah, you just did a point right there.
Yeah, man. Let it go for a little while. Just see what happens. It might be uncomfortable. You might not be able to get this a little bit. You might not be able to have that. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times, a lot of stuff we have, we got it because we did put in that work, which may have taken away from our well-being and our spirituality and our oneness with God. So once we stop doing that, yeah, we might end up losing a few things. And that could be uncomfortable. But it's worth it.
And that flow, man, that flow that you're speaking of, bro, like I gotta say that, like, that flow is tapping into God. Like, that's what the flow is. The flow is source, which is God. Like, everything is there. So, but you can't get to the level of flow without tapping in. So, like you were saying in the original conversation about melanated business, like you said, personal development, I feel is also spiritual development. So,
Oh
like,
yeah.
once you get there, once you start there, then you tap into your divine purpose. So when you are going after your goals, you have a better spirit. So that means you will attract better things. So I feel that
Yes, sir.
when you start there, yeah, then you start being like, okay, I'm gonna start respecting people's time. Okay, like, I don't like for people to be late when I ask them to be at a certain place, so I'm gonna be on time. And speaking of time, bro, I really been working on myself as far as time, and I've been on time a lot more like lately. Like
Amen.
I've been battling with that for a long time, and I would like to say to anybody that's battling with being on time, like get out of yourself. I mean, now I'm not saying that getting yourself together is a bad thing, but what I am saying is that you don't have to be late doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Start earlier.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I found out that I was really just lollygagging and being slowful when really I can get all I want done and be on time. You just gotta start earlier.
Yeah.
You know, prioritize it.
Mm-hmm. And take that sacrifice too, man. I mean, for any kind of self-development we gonna do, like I want people to know, like it comes with sacrifice. Like in order to be better and to introduce new habits into ourselves, we got to sacrifice our old self and old habits, man.
Mm.
You know, like real talk. Ain't no way. Like I know a lot of people on TikTok and Instagram like to paint this picture. You gotta do this, and then you do that, and then the window, the sky gonna open up, and then there's gonna be raindrops of candy falling, and then this gonna happen, and then you just focus your mind. They don't tell you nothing about that sacrifice you gotta make, where you gotta carry your ass to sleep early. You know what I mean? And miss that TV show you want to see. You gotta get up earlier. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They don't tell you about all that and how that's difficult, but it is, and it can be, but it's worth it, man. And man, whoever listen to this, you're worth it. Whatever changes that you need to make for yourself, tell yourself that you're worth it. You owe it to yourself to be a better you, because nobody can do it for you but yourself. You
Mm.
got to do that for yourself. That's self-love. Being a better person is the ultimate self-love. It ain't just about pranking yourself and making time to have a good time for yourself. No, growth is the ultimate self-love. Do that for
Talk your
yourself.
shit, King. Talk your shit.
Real, man. We got to do that, man.
And that shit is cool to do. Like, don't think that shit lame.
Mm-hmm.
Like, being your best self is the greatest thing you can do
Yes.
ever. Like, and I think like, man, the sense of God, like I can feel the struggle of like believing in God, like in the people in the world today. Like I feel the struggle. So it's like, mm, man, that thought just walked.
Mm.
But
Felt like you were going somewhere too, man.
I was, man. Well, I am. It still sometimes it walk, but it turn around and come back.
Mm-hmm. And we
But
got to be okay with that too, man.
right, bro.
Woo!
Like,
For real. For real. It's all about seasons, man. We think that because something ain't where what it used to be, that it never will be, but we got to be okay with it. Maybe not never being. And maybe it'll come back. Maybe. Who knows? But that's a part of being in that flow, man.
right.
Trusting it. Trusting God. Trusting his understanding. I know, like one thing I like to say, man, is when I was getting out of myself and the way I wanted to do stuff, I had to recognize, like, man, all I know is right now. And the way that I'm seeing it could be flawed. I know what happened yesterday, but how I perceived it could have been wrong too. And I have no clue about what's gonna happen tomorrow.
Right.
God, on the other hand, he know what happened yesterday, exactly how it happened, in the best perspective. He knows what's going on right now in the best perspective, and he knows what's gonna happen tomorrow in the best perspective. Why would I sit back and trust mine when I can just put my trust in the Lord?
Exactly. And
Don't
that
make
thought
sense, man.
that thought got dang turned around and came back. But
Talk it off.
I was only getting ready to say that when I said that, it's a cool thing to be the best version of yourself. I was saying that because that's what God wants you to be. Like, we have to understand that that's what he actually wants us to be. The
That's
best
right.
version of ourselves. And like, when you think of God, we have to let go of what we think about man in church. We have to remove God from them walls and really see God as an individual. Like, God is a spirit. He
That's
is
right.
a consciousness. So you have to stop connecting him to human.
Amen.
Like, he is not human.
Far
So,
beyond.
man, I'm telling you, and there's a scripture that says his thoughts and ways is as far from our ways as the heavens is from the earth. So that's how far he is from our natural way and our natural way of thinking.
That's right.
So that's why we have to tap into his consciousness, because he's a spirit. He's a consciousness. So the closer we get to the God consciousness, the more we come out of our natural consciousness, which is carnal, which is we only can see what we can see.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We can't see what we can't see. But the further we get to the God, the closer we get into the God consciousness, we start to see things that are unseen by the physical eye.
Yes, sir.
And you remember, like, a lot of conversations ago, you remember I was saying that material things are the lowest vibration. Like, they are the lowest frequency. Like, things that you can, like, physically touch, that's the lowest form of energy, because you can see it. That means the molecules that's in the atom, the molecules that the thing was made out of, has slowing down. It has slowed down so much that you can see it.
That's on the chew on right there, Jack. You ain't break it down like that last time.
You
You
see what
took
I'm
it a
saying?
step further. Yeah.
Like, energy is real. Like, okay, the transferring of energy, you can literally see it. That's why in science they show you how a liquid can be transformed from liquid to a gas to a solid. CEO here, tapping in. I just wanted to remind all of our supporters and all of our listeners to share our podcast and encourage everybody to subscribe and get these great conversations. Back to the show. Or from a solid to a liquid to a gas. From a solid to a liquid to a gas. That's a transformation of energy. So a solid, right? That means the molecules was going so slow because the temperature has slowed down the molecules. That's why you have frozen water. Frozen water is made up of 2 hydrogen molecules or atoms with 1 oxygen, H2O. So those molecules that's in those elements has slowed down, which causes it to stay still. But when you apply heat to the molecules, they start moving really, really, really fast, and they start bumping against each other. And that's when you start seeing the water boil. The water is starting to boil because the temperature is rising and the molecules are starting to hit each other. It's bouncing off each other. It's a lot of things going on. And then as the temperature keep rising, that water starts to dry up and turn into evaporation, which is a gas. It turns into steam. So all of that is a transformation of energy, and we can actually see it. But see, once that water burn out and that gas, like once that smoke rise up, you can't see it no more. But it's still there.
Real talk.
It's just evaporating into the air, but it's still there. So that's how a solid can go from being seen to something being unseen. A solid can go from being something you can see to something being transparent.
And when you said that, man, it made me think of another way to look at that too. Because you know, when you look at an ice cube, it's boxed. It's limited to what it can do, where it can go. But once it turns into a liquid, it's a little more free. And once it turns into a gas, it's a lot more free. Come on now.
Bro, damn, you really just took it there.
Come on now. And I think that's how we really got to look at what's unseen. It's freeing, man. When we live and we become in that oneness, like you mentioned, with God, and we start seeing what's unseen, we become freer. We don't have to conform to the patterns of this world, man.
Yes.
To these systems and this programming they done put on us. That's limiting, man. It got us like an ice cube out here, bro.
Man.
Well, we really was meant to be gas, bro.
To rise.
Come on, man.
Cause like as you was talking, bro, I was visualizing like it being unseen. Like when that steam, what does steam do, bro? It rises.
Yes, sir.
So like the more you get closer to being transparent, right? The more closer you get into that God consciousness, you are literally rising. Because your consciousness is rising. So when your consciousness rises, that's what gets you closer to God.
Yes, sir.
So, man, like, and then this world, like I said, God created the heavens and the earth. So when it became physical, it became that's a vibration. It was a frequency. Like Earth have a frequency. So before Earth was here, right? There was spirit, right? That's what I'm saying. The spirit was always here. The power was always existing. So that's the all power. That's the source. The source was already there. So Earth, the heavens and the earth came out of source. Because source is such a higher frequency that it created a lower frequency. It created a lower vibrational frequency. So creation, it was able to manifest out of source because source is all power. So source is so powerful that it can put out other frequencies. Like it can put out whatever frequency it want to put out. It can control whatever frequency it's on. So that's why when you connect to the source, you really like, bro, you really got a lot of power. So source was able to materialize a vibration, a frequency, earth, human, heaven. They're all frequencies. And that's why, that's why the atmosphere changed when you go to the heavens versus being on the earth. The atmospheres change because there is a difference. There's a difference in frequency. There's a difference in vibration. There's a difference in it's a realm. You know what I'm saying? It's just a difference.
Real talk. And I think that's what the melanated community has to get back to, man. These type of things, recognizing our abilities to rise like this, man. Being on them different frequencies personally.
Yes.
Because I see a lot of people into the whole manifesting and all that. But man, ain't no manifesting. I mean, I ain't gonna say it ain't no manifesting without being with God and being tied into that higher source. But I mean, I would imagine manifesting is a lot easier, and I not even imagine from experience. Manifesting is a lot easier when we tied in with that source. Instead of us just trying to say, I want to do this, I want to do that, I'm gonna write it down. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times, like you said on another episode or conversation, we'll start to attract them things. We'll start to attract what's for us because we tapping into the source that created us for a purpose.
Amen. And that'll happen automatically.
I mean, you might not even need manifesting at that point.
Bro,
You know what I'm saying?
we had this conversation, like, bro, we had this conversation a while back. Like, manifesting is, I really like about to stop using that shit. About to stop using the term because once you connect it to source, you are a manifestation.
Oh man, I
Like
ain't ready for that, cuz.
you trying to manifest something. You really saying I'm not what I say I am, so I have to do this ritual to get it. Like I got to do this ritual. Like that means you're really saying I'm not God's son. Like I'm not God's daughter. I don't know who I am. So I have to do a series of steps to get what I want. Man. The only step you need is to get closer to God.
That's it.
And then ask.
It's
You see what I'm saying?
always
See,
right there.
when you ask a stranger for something, you got less of a chance of getting it. But see, when you know God, you ain't a stranger no more. See, a lot of us, we asking God for a lot of things, but we don't know him. See what I'm saying? Like we ain't even trying to connect with him. We ain't even trying to get to know him, but we want to ask him for something because we heard around town. We heard around town that he all powerful.
Yeah, man. What? I had to get checked. My uncle checked me on that one time, man. My uncle checked me on that. He said, man, you don't know God. You ain't trying to know God. You just want what God want. I mean, you just want what God got.
Talk, brother.
And just imagine if somebody did that to us. You don't fuck with me, bro. You just want to get in on what I got going.
Talk your shit, man.
You know what I'm saying? Come on now. Ain't nobody trying to mess with that. Ain't nobody trying to mess with that.
And see, that's just the real, man, you know, and a lot of people got that belief in God that they pick up and lay down, you know, according to what they go through in their life. Like God ain't real until I'm going through hell. So it's like how we expect, like I said, you got a better chance of getting love from a person that you got a relationship with than you just walking up to a stranger. So like think about that when we asking for things or when we got goals. Think about like think about your real connection to God. Like am I really trying to live the way he want me to? Like I'm not just trying to make money. Like I'm not just trying to make a living. Like I want to live righteously.
Yes.
Like it should be a goal to be like, man, I want to treat my brother the best way I can treat him. Like
Yes,
that should be like that's a goal. Like that should be how we live. It really should be by default, but because of the way of the world, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is. You know, but we have to, because of the ways of the world, we have to make it more of an intention and a priority to consider these things. Like we got to consider these things. And as far as business, that's what I'm saying. Like we got to consider who we are as people first. Cause like, yeah, we should stop comparing ourselves to other people, but we should also just look at ourselves. Stop comparing ourselves, but we do have to look at ourselves in order to better ourselves.
Real talk. That's real talk, cuz. That's real talk. Cause we great. We great.
Oh God, we great.
No comparison. I mean, and even not even just as a collection of people. Yes, we are great as melanated people. We are, but too much. And it wasn't like this in the past. But now I'm seeing a whole lot of I'm melanated. I got this kind of hair. We can do this. We can do that. And I've added into that narrative as well myself. But I'm trying to get away from it now. We shouldn't be that way. We shouldn't feel like we better than any other race. And we shouldn't feel like we less than any other race. We just got to be great on our own. And I believe that's how I'm striving to be as a person, really recognizing my greatness regardless to what I see this person doing. I'm great.
Right. Like just be.
Yeah,
Like
seriously.
stop putting yourself into like when you compare, you putting yourself into a box with something else. Like don't compare nothing. Just be.
Yes.
Just be just be God's people. Like that's who you are. Like just be. You don't have to compare anything. Just be. Like, man, like comparison is a small mind. Like
Yes,
if when you
sir.
think about it, like when you comparing yourself, that's really you having a small mind because you had to really visualize somebody else's success or whatever that may be. You had to visualize that and comparing it to you.
That's so detrimental, man. And with this age of social media, man, I know a lot of people falling victim to that comparison. And a lot of time that be people motivation to do stuff, like I said earlier.
I mean,
Comparison.
it ain't even bad. It's not. I'm saying, I'm okay. Like, it's just a thin line between that shit because you could. It's all about mindset, man. Because a person can look at somebody that's successful and literally like be putting in the work. Like they got routines and shit. Like they literally putting in work in their personal lives, but they just looking at other people to fuel their own inspiration. So it's a matter of mindset because at the end of the day, everybody can see that same video and have different perspectives. Because I see videos from my mentors and I be like, I gotta get to work. Sometimes I'll probably just be finding myself scrolling, and then I see something, then it remind me, bro, you need to get off social media. Like,
Word.
get
And I can see that, but see with you, cuz, I don't so much think it's your mindset, bro. Well, it is. But I was gonna say your heart. Your heart is what's fueling that. To where you can see something and get motivated in the right way. You dig what I'm saying?
yeah.
Cause and I corrected myself in saying it's not your mindset because what's in the mind comes from the heart. But it's your heart. Your heart isn't in a jealous place. Your heart in the right place. And I think that's what more focus need to be put on. Our hearts. My heart, your heart. You know what I mean?
Whoa, damn, you just tapped in. Damn, we'll talk all day, man. I ain't like, damn, we'll really talk about that all day, but you really just tapped in because you showed me something, the difference between the heart and the mind. You really just tapped in because, like, okay, the heart, it fuels your will, your desire, your intention.
Mm-hmm.
That's your heart, like your feelings, your emotions. Like, but your mind is like a source of thoughts and frequencies. But your heart is what directs your mind.
Right.
Like,
Right.
so your consciousness is really your heart.
Mm. Come on now.
You know what I'm saying? Like how you really feel. You know what I'm saying? Like what's really in you. That's your consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So, but your mind is infinite. Like the mind, everybody got like you got access to your mind. Your mind is like infinite amount of information. So sometimes you can have thoughts that's not even yours, but it's channeling and it was sent to you because of a frequency. But your heart is what decides whether you indulge in that thought or reject that thought. So
Mm.
you really just put me down on like you just really just you brought it home. I needed that last piece because I have recently studied the difference between the mind, body, and the spirit, the mind, soul, and the spirit. So you
Mm-hmm.
really just took it a little further because you explained well really the soul and the heart. I've really combined the soul and the heart together then because your soul is also your consciousness. That's what I'm saying. Like that's how you make decisions. Like that's how you gonna reason. You see what I'm saying? That's your soul.
Mm-hmm.
Like, cause when somebody say, "Oh, you got a dark soul," that means you got a blocked consciousness. That means your consciousness is dark. That means you think dark thoughts. Like that means like your intention is dark.
Mm. That's heavy right there, man. That's heavy. And I think that right there takes some real self-realization, man, in order to identify that. 'Cause I know sometimes we could walk around with that and not even realize it. Because
Mm.
it's the norm. Because it could have got passed down. Time back around to what you popped it off with. That whole mentality, that kind of heart, I believe can be passed down. For real.
Anger. That's one. Epigenetics. Anger is one that
Mm-hmm.
tends to commonly show up in our personality traits in the melanated community. Anger and aggression, you know, anxiety and depression. Anger and aggression, anxiety and depression. Anger and aggression, anxiety and depression. They rhyme, but they are coming because they go hand in hand. Like anger and aggression, it comes from anxiety and depression. So that's how you know that in our genes, like we was talking about that DNA. Let me explain it in what you learn. We're gonna go ahead and go to the next segment
All right.
of what you learn. And shit, man, I really do you have anything you wanna
Yeah, I'll go
off?
fast. I'll go first and quit, man. I want to hear yours. I'll just say what I said earlier, man. I learned that it's good to be in the flow. As far as explaining and all that, I ain't got to that point. I'm trying it out, but I'm just knowing that I'm not moved as much. That's one thing I can say that I received from being in the flow. When something don't go the way I want it, when I remember that I'm just in the flow, I can recognize that God put this right here in my flow. So it's something for me to gain from it. So that's one benefit of being in the flow. And that's something that I'm learning right now. That's it for me, man.
Great bar. Great bar. And it's like a life principle. Great life principle. For real, for real.
I want to hear yours, man.
Um
Professor John Biss. Professor Reverend John Biss.
Nah, man, but what I was saying, bro, I recently was tapping into like DNA or whatever, and like I was just saying, I was explaining anger and anxiety and depression, anger and aggression, they are combined because they are related to each other. Because one leads to the next, and the next one is the next one, and it's like they both could be intertwined with one another. So I believe that that's how we have that information being transferred from generation to generation because of epigenetics, which is the behavior that's transferred. And then, but we also have personality. We also have genes, like genetics, like how you look, how you feel, like all of those things are also passed down in your DNA. And so I recently learned that 14 generations of memories is in each of our DNA.
Dang.
So that could be anything. We could be being transferred. We have in our DNA stuff that we don't even know about. So I believe that, we should all study that and go back as far as we can if you want to. Now, I know some people don't, they would rather it's not interesting to them, but I think it's very interesting to know a little bit about, what's in you, because it could benefit you to know, because you can use it as an advantage, or you can just, because knowledge itself, man, builds confidence. When you know yourself, like you know something about yourself, like that builds confidence. So going back as far as generations and generations, like going back as far as you can and learning about your family, it kind of helps you with your identity. Now I know that we focus on our spiritual identity, which is, once you become one with God, we become a part of him and he a part of us. So we call ourselves men and women of God. I understand that. That's spiritual. But physically, we also have to understand that we're like the human body is also powerful. Like on top of us having a spiritual body and a spiritual consciousness, the human body is powerful as fuck. So like we also have things that we can pull from physically, naturally, that's connected to our spirituality as well. That will be helpful information for us to know. So it's like that's just like I did some math, right? I recently told my mama, and I'm gonna finish. Like I'm gonna be done after this. But I was talking to mama, and I was like, you know what? Granddaddy was born in 1909. The Emancipation Proclamation was 1865. So I already know that my granddaddy's parents, our granddaddy's parents, were slaves, and that wasn't long ago. So in the 1800s, my folks didn't come on no boat or no ship. Like my great grandparents, they didn't come over here from on a ship. That wasn't long ago. That was less than it's just a little over 100 years ago. And my granddaddy our granddaddy is 114, 100, 100 and 100 and what 13. He's 113 years old. So if we go all the way back, that proves that my folks were already here. So that gives me knowledge to know that I'm possibly am, and I can really stand on this. I'm an Indian.
Mm.
We are original to America. And that proves that because my granddaddy is 113. All I have to do is look back at his parents. His parents, granddaddy Paul Robin, was born into slavery. He is not African.
Mm.
Paul Robin was not an African.
Sound about right to me, man.
And also, in 1924, the Racial Integrity Act was signed, and that stated that it was illegal for melanated people to call themselves Indian. Grandma wasn't born to 1929. So 5 years before Grandma was born, it became illegal to call yourself an Indian. So that's when everybody had to call themselves Negro, Black. You had to literally go by Black or African American. Well, African American came. It probably was African American at that time,
Mm.
or color African American. Then Black came. Then African American. Like it was Black and African American for a while, for a long time, like it is now.
Mm.
But started out as colored or Negro or African American. But my whole point of saying that is that I got a sense of who I am and where I come from. And like in Indian cultures, you had chiefs. Like we were in slavery, but like I said, 14 generations back, my folks couldn't have been in slavery all of those 14 generations. I don't believe it. I don't believe that my folks was in slavery for 1,400 years. I got 1,400 years. Well, at least at least I know it's probably more than that, but I'm just saying I can literally say, okay, 14 generations. I really just added a century onto each generation, which is 1,400. So just by safe and being conservative and being easy on numbers, I'm just saying like at least 1,400 years, 1,400 years of coded information inside of my DNA. So I know I just literally only went back a couple hundred years.
Right.
So I know for a fact that before all of this colonization happened, there were some chiefs in our family.
Mm.
And chiefs is just the same. It's just an authoritative role as like a king or a queen. It's an order role. It's a role of the same. Like I said, like it's when you are a king, you have power and authority over that particular jurisdiction. So, and you are looked to make decisions. So chiefs, like, yeah, we come from chiefs. Yeah, we come from community. Yeah, we come from civilization. Well, not really civilization. That's a bad term. My bad. Civilization is what came about now in society. But we were self-governed. That's a better term. We
Mm-hmm.
self-governed or governed by what we believe to be the higher power. I believe.
Mm. Hey man, I believe it, man. So I done had an experience. I ain't gonna get into the detail, but I done had an experience, man, where I kind of just tapped into the Native American consciousness and it moved, bro. It moved. I mean, no questions asked, bro. It moved.
It moved.
Yes. Like things started to happen, bro, when I tapped into that consciousness.
I wish I understood.
I ain't gonna get into it because it's a lot to tell. But
I feel you. But I believe it. I believe that it's possible. Definitely possible. But going over into the last segment of the show, financial theme of the month, the financial tip of the month. And like we said, for the month of December, our tip is don't be afraid to get help. And help comes in different ways, in different forms. You can get help from a course that you bought from a mentor. You can get help from advice from a financial advisor. You can get help from a friend. Because sometimes the people in high positions aren't always the one to give the best advice. You can get some advice from a good fellow that you know. It's just all about the quality of information that you're receiving.
It come from a bum on the street, too.
Man, what? Knowledge is knowledge. Truth is truth, no matter where it comes. So receive help and advice, you know what I'm saying? But don't let the information cripple you. Like, don't let what somebody give you cripple you. Use it as a tool, and use it and take advantage of that tool, to level up. But don't use it don't be a crutch. Like, don't allow nothing to be a crutch for you, because you can hold yourself up. Like, you can hold it up. You have whatever you need in you. And all you just needed was some information. So take that information, take that advice, take a loan, take whatever the thing is that you was able to come upon, and use it to your advantage. But don't abuse it. You know what I'm saying? Learn, take in the information, execute the information, but don't become lenient. Don't become a leech. You know what I'm saying? Always be a good steward with information that people give you.
Yeah, right.
And if nothing is left to be said, all minds are clear, King Victor.
Yes, sir.
And we appreciate everybody for tuning in for conversation number 45. We had a good time last week for conversation number 44 on the importance of life insurance. Looking forward to having more guests. Looking forward to changing the way we eat so we can start having more conversations on that end as well, because investing into yourself and investing differently, one of the ways to do that is investing into your health, because health is the ultimate wealth. So we can look forward to going into that direction soon. Like I said, I appreciate y'all for tuning in for conversation number 45. I'm co-host Mr. John Michael Best.
And I'm your other co-host, Victor Thomas II.
And we are out. Gone.
Peace.
Peace. Financial Fashion Network is a platform we have created to host events and build community by creating content that promote personal development, financial awareness, and mental health. And it's our main goal to be a motivating force to everyone in the world. Now, if you want to support our brand, you can go to www.fnfstore.com and you can find our apparel, and you can, support the brand. Take a look at our hoodies, take a look at our joggers. It's getting ready to get cold. So if you see something you like, you can actually get 10% off your first order by using discount code FNF10. Thank you.